Hi.
Right. So I think there's an increased need for me to make a contribution
Hmm.
about the subject that has to do with the world that we're heading towards, which is the world of unknown. Because I can see this anxiety kind of creeping into humanity about things just don't work anymore.
Yeah.
And people trying to almost frantically look for their purpose in life, their role in life, make plans, anything that would seem solid, and it just keeps failing. And I was kind of realizing how, I'm someone who's kind of been getting comfortable with the unknown the most of my life. I have the 30th gate in my personality sun, which says, you think you know what you're gonna get something else. So that's something that
Great.
I know quite well. Um, and I'm sensing this anxiety in people because the world is changing and we're increasingly being faced with this unknown. And I feel like maybe I can make a contribution somehow to from my awareness how to deal with that. I just don't know what that contribution is,
Yeah.
but I think it's necessary, or I feel it's necessary. So
Well,
that's kind of
and
my standing
so
point.
your incarnation cross is the cross of contagion, which has the gates 30 and 29, which are your personality, Sun, Earth, and the 8 and the 14, and the 8 is the contribution. Um, Now the 8 is your design Earth.
Right.
Okay. So there's something about your body getting grounded when you're offering the contribution, and it's your body's contribution, which is interesting because,
Mm.
when I think of contribution, I think of, I don't know, I guess more personality, like I'll do this and I'll do that with my personality that I know is out there talking to people or something.
Mm.
But it's your body, so it's just kind of showing up. And
Mm-hmm.
your body's been going through so much transformation, and um, it might actually be helpful for so many of us to understand that, haven't thought this in words yet, that part of what's coming with 2027 is that our bodies are transforming to come into this new world. Now, I just listened to Ra's whole 2027 talk, or at least one of them. I took all these notes and I'm going to talk about it at our next advanced class because I'm not ready to do that right now, but we could maybe even publish that too. Um, but what do our bodies need to go through in order that we can be aligned with what's coming? I think our personalities keep to keep needing to surrender, which is what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
personality's deal. So it can witness, so it can watch, so it can be the thing that is seeing. But what about the body? Like, what does your body have to go through? What does my body have to go through? What does anyone's? And it's so radical to be alive right now in these bodies because the bodies are what's changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Body changed in 1781 with the advent of the seven-centered being. So we are not the same creatures that were alive in the seven-centered world, which is so fascinating for me because I go to see so much art in the world and I can pick them out now. Like I can
Mm.
look at a painting and almost always go, oh, that's seven-centered because they just don't look the same. They have this whole different look about them to me, which is very canny, strategic. Like, they have these eyes that are always looking like, how can I do this? How can I do that? But don't have a sense of awareness about them, which is,
Yeah.
which is the right coming in, which we're bringing in, and which the raves, which are coming, are going to be these right-oriented beings. And, we're not going to be raves, and
Hmm.
humans will still be there along with the raves, but it seems like vibrationally or something, our bodies need to let go of possibly some ingrained patterns that won't support us moving forward.
Hmm.
And so when you look at what your body's been going through, which is pain and discomfort and a lot of stuff, can you recognize that there are some patterns in your body that actually aren't working now, and that's what's trying to let go of itself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, I can look at it from different perspectives. I mean, I can look at it from the perspective of 2027 mutation solar plexus, but I can also look at it like just a basic human life. Biologically, I'm at the age of 45, so I'm going through a lot of change, that I would go through anyway. So of course there's a lot of that, but I think what's special now is that okay, yeah, my body's going through this cyclical process that, it's meant to go through. But then on top of that, we have this awareness. We have this awareness, this consciousness mutation that is shifting. So it's almost like the changes that I'm going through right now are revealing something deeper than, like if I had gone through this process 20 years ago or 50 years ago, I wouldn't have the same awareness. I would be still locked into some kind of a whatever concepts and patterns we lived in our conscious mind back then. But because everything is changing and shifting, there's like this opening that's happening within this mutation. So it's not just that I'm, having a midlife crisis, but it's also that, the solar plexus is changing and the consciousness
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's increasingly important point to bring across how everything is about the body. Because the seven-centered, everything's built on the seven-centered, structure that even our lives, what we've been living here. And for those people, it was very important that they were here for the mind development, for the evolution of the mind. So
right.
it's nobody's fault that we don't know how to deal with the unknown because we've always learned to deal with it, with our mind and how we can perceive things.
And to
And
strategize how to deal with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Um, and that's just something that is not going to be the theme anymore. So we really like most of us are facing anybody who's even a little bit of aware is facing this reality that shit, I don't know how to navigate through this anymore. And that can lead to all kinds of things. I mean, if you can't surrender to that, to the unknown, it can lead you in many different paths. And one of them is like you just go insane. You don't know how to navigate with your mind anymore. And
yeah,
no matter how
yeah.
many more you try, the more it fails. So, it's going to send you potentially to a path of like, fuck, I'm losing it. Or it might make you super depressed, or, there's all kinds of things. Um, See, I'm really comfortable with this. Like, I feel like now is my time to thrive because I know what unknown is. I love it. I love and hate it, because it doesn't mean that just because I am kind of comfortable with it, that it's easy for me.
Yeah.
I'm still going through the same, like you said, challenges in my body and awareness and, psychologically as well. But it's like I have the capacity to deal with it.
Yeah,
And I'm really
exactly.
grateful. And this is where I feel almost like I would like to make a contribution of, okay, if I can navigate this through somehow, is there something that I can give to people who don't know how, even if it's a one little tip or, something like that.
So is
And I
there
feel like
a tip you have right now?
I feel that there is something that I need to say and I don't know what it is.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
What's what I've seen so clearly at this time of mutation where the solar plexus is mutating, and the root center, the channels that go up to the solar plexus, what the root center is always trying to do is to fix the wave, meaning stop the wave. So stop doing that, stop doing that, stop doing that. And there are those three different ways that ego can come down and try and do that too in the 4037. But looking at that root center, two of those channels are the two that are mutating, the 55 and the 49. And they're very similar in their biology. They're both the histidine codon. And so that's kind of what's mutating. And then what isn't mutating, I mean, per se, everything's mutating, but what isn't shifting like those other two is the 30, which is your sun gate, the gate of the fates.
Mhm.
And the 41 to the 30 to the 36 to the 35, that whole stream is called the human experiential way. And, one of the things Ross said in this 2027 business I was just listening to is that raves are actually not human. They're not even mammalian. They're actually that different.
Mhm.
And the human experiential way is about a process. It's about the unknown. Because, the 41, we learn in the 41, it's the start codon for the whole business. And the 41 has all these fantasies and, blah, 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 and this and this and that and that. And the next step on the road is the 30, which says, well, yeah, that's fine. Have your fantasies because they can enrich your inner world. They can nourish your je ne sais quoi, that interior part. But then the 30s come and say, okay, we're holding this process and we're going to allow the unfolding. And it's not how you think it's going to be, like you
Mhm.
said, like you started out here. And what has become just profoundly clear to me is that in that second step, what has to happen is we have to feel what we feel.
Mhm.
And I have recognized with myself, I'm emotionally defined. And it doesn't matter if you're emotionally defined because when emotions happen, when they're painful, we don't want to feel them. Whether, we're amplifying someone else's or they're coming out of our own chemistry, it's like, oh, I don't want to feel that. That feels horrible. That feels horrible. And what we tend to do, what I've seen, is that we'll take that feeling, we'll stuff it in our body somewhere. I've been a big one to stuff things in my belly. And I have noticed, I saw this in my 20s that I would recognize at some point that I was trying not to feel a feeling that I was having. And then I would just lay down on the floor and go, okay, just feel it. And something that I had been resisting and trying not to feel for days, years, months would suddenly unfold itself and feel through me, I want to say, in minutes. But it can
Mhm.
be painful,
Mhm.
and it's that do we have the courage to feel the painful
Right.
and just
Uh,
feel it, just like uh, 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 and I think it's similar. That's the emotional bit. But if we feel something in our body, like I don't want to feel this pain in my knee. I don't want
Mhm.
to feel it. I don't want to feel it. I don't. What if I just feel it? And then it can be allowed to unfold. And often when I do that with things in my body, again, it's painful and I don't like it, but it shifts. There's
Mhm.
actually a shift in how it feels. And I feel more whole and more me at that
And
point.
it's actually the mind is resisting the pain because it thinks it knows it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
And actually, when you really start to feel, yeah, okay, there can be pain, but it's usually never as bad as your mind makes it out to be. So what we are actually afraid of is feeling the feeling because we are afraid of the pain that it might have. But then when you actually go into the pain, it's never as intense. I mean, sometimes it can
Well,
be, but
sometimes it is. Actually, I had one
yeah.
recently that, I called you in the middle of, and I was like, I'm feeling this pain in my belly that I determined goes back to my mother stopping nursing me when I was 3 months old. And I felt more sick maybe than I've ever felt when I felt that one. And it took about 4 days.
Mm,
So it's not that it gets easier to feel, but something that was there for decades has now shifted. And it
yeah.
doesn't have this hold on me that I'm consistently and continuously trying not to feel.
And this is something I actually wanted to go to because, like when we look at the unknown and the future and the evolution and everything, I mean, what we've used to doing is that we tend to want to look to the future and forecast it and look at it like that, but we're doing it unaware because
Yeah.
we don't tend to look at the past. We don't look at the past because past is full of painful experiences and we don't want to feel them. So it's like the past just sits there as a painful thing. I'm not going to look at that because it gave me pain. So I'm just going to look forward to the future and it's going to be better. And so we keep living in this avoidance of looking at the past because it's painful. So we avoid feeling the feelings that are there to be felt before we can move forward. And in doing so, I mean, we're just restricting our lives and we keep living in the same loop of thinking that we know what's going to happen or what we want to happen. And then we get disappointed because it doesn't. And then we feel pain a bit again because we're not getting our dreams and desires met. And the loop just keeps going on and on and on. And we,
Right.
as humanity, I mean, I just say we, but there's no transcendence. Whereas, what if you started really looking at your body and your feelings and your emotions and your past and actually living through them, allow them to pass your body,
Mhm.
be present with that, and then see that, okay, now that's shifted. Now I have a bit more space to accept the unknown. And you can see that there's an opening immediately. You
Yeah.
let go of the past pain, so you're not trapped in that anymore. So you
Yeah.
don't repeat it anymore. Um, So everything is about recognition of feelings, and solar plexus is about pain and pleasure. So the pain is just one experience in this life that we're here to live.
Yeah. That's right. You know,
And
I've go ahead.
no, I just feel like, when people are living in this avoidance of pain, they become anxious because they just want so desperately the future to be the bright, lovely future, but it's like a dark, like I'm thinking of the 36 now, like the darkening of the
The
light,
darkening of the light. Yeah,
You
that's
look
where
at
you have to go. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So,
In order to progress, which is the 35,
yeah,
you have to go
yeah.
down into the dark. I've actually worked for a long, long time with people to to assist them and empower them to just be able to feel. And I've noticed a couple of things that with feeling bodily feelings, like a painful body sensation, for example, you just you have to keep identifying it, and
Mm,
I'll I don't know, I have this inner vision ability to be with people while they're doing it, so I can actually see it and feel it with them. But it's like, okay, well, where is it? Like, where actually is it?
yeah.
Is it in this particular spot? How big is it? What temperature is it? What shape?
Mm,
Is it dense? Is it light? And as people are able to actually identify, see, and feel it, that's when it starts to shift.
mm.
The thing that I've noticed with personality pain is that like someone will say, I'm usually it's some kind of fear of feeling it. I'm afraid to feel this. Well, what if you felt it? Well, if I felt it, it would hurt. What if I hurt? It would never stop hurting. What if it never stopped hurting? I'd be in pain forever. What if you were in pain forever? And I just keep going like that with people, and it always ends up with the same answer. I'll die.
Mm, mm.
Personality is
Yeah,
afraid if it feels something, it will die. That's always the answer. It's never not been. I've done it maybe 100 times with different people, and that's
yeah.
always the answer. It gets to, I'm afraid I'll die if
Mm,
I feel this feeling.
mm,
Yeah. And so it takes courage. And sometimes it takes support, because I've done this with myself and other people a long time, but if you haven't, you might not, you can just get lost inside of yourself. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because the mind doesn't really know where to go because it's kind of locked in to the fear of pain.
yeah,
So it's wants to get rid of the pain,
yeah,
but the only way through is through the pain, is through the pain. And if you don't want to feel it, you
that's
just
right.
keep going around it like in circles.
That's right. That's right. And then along with that, it's our own fear of feeling the feelings. And then there could be a lot of baggage on top of that of how other people behave toward us when we felt our feelings.
Mm,
And then
of
that
course.
becomes a whole other fear.
And and it's just starting to think about this fear of dying that you referred to. Like one of the things, I mean, I used to be a massage therapist, so I saw this a lot in people. Like it's really about going into the pain, specific part of your body where you have the pain. It might be the core, or it might be another part of it. But this whole idea that I'm seeing now is afraid of dying is because the emotions really live in our bodies. It's in our nervous
Yes,
system,
always. Yeah.
stored in the fascia and in all kinds
Right.
of parts in our bodies. And so when we start to feel them, and we don't really know our bodies because they're entities on their own, everything happens inside of you without you having to think about it. Yeah, digestion, your hormones, everything. So when you start to feel a pain that is held in there, you become very aware that I have no idea what's going on in here, again, facing the unknown.
Yeah.
And then the fear of dying, because there's a sensation in your physical body. And the physical body, is going to be here as long as it's going to be here, and then it's going to die. So the first fear that comes to the mind when you feel something that shouldn't be there or feels odd is that I'm going to die.
That's right.
And it's like such a primitive, I don't want to say primitive in a negative manner, but it's a primitive fear in the sense that it's the most existential.
Yeah.
We have a life and we have
Yeah.
a death, and you can't avoid death.
And
And
it's all, go ahead.
no, I'm just thinking that we have alienated ourselves as humans from this concept of dying based on what the society has told us. Live forever, look young forever,
Right, right.
have a healthy body until you're 100, and so on.
Yeah.
And we become alienated from death, and I don't think it's very healthy because then we end up living in fear our whole lives.
It's not. And accepting and rejoicing in the body. I had this thought the other day. I thought, I, I'm so aware all the time, almost all the time, of how amazing my body is. It's like it's so strong and it has so much energy, and it's like, wow. And then I look at it and it's getting old, and I have those thoughts like, why can't I just keep being beautiful and
Mm,
toned and smooth and all the things that are the image of what beauty is. And I'm like, if someone can't love my body, they can't be a part of this experience with me
yeah.
because I won't do that to my body anymore. I
Hmm.
won't accept thought forms about it that it's anything other than magnificent because it just
Hmm.
really is. The other thing about dying is that there's personality death.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is not that the personality dies. I mean, it's the relatively eternal thing that we are, that's, began at the beginning and will keep going, but we have to let die the thought forms that no longer support us. It was like that thing that I saw for you the other day that we actually haven't talked about, that you have that completely open root and the completely open G. And in the completely open root, you've dealt with excessive pressure your whole life.
Yeah.
And that completely open G, who's, you know, in a sense, frantic to have an identity that it can't have because you're not here to have some
Hmm.
consistent identity, created an identity of being a pressurized person.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
that actually has to die.
Hmm.
In order for you to be at ease with time, which is a big part of the whole root business, you can no longer have an identity of I'm pressured all the time because of my
Hmm.
root,
Hmm.
and there I am. I have my completely open ego, and I have to let go of any worthiness issues connected for me, especially to money. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I actually I actually don't have anything to do with that whole business. It's not my business. Not that I don't have it or don't get it, but figuring it all out, it's really not my business. And the more I can accept that, the more money's there when I need money. And it's magic.
Mm.
It's
Hmm.
like I don't look at it too hard because if I looked at it like this, I think it would go away. So I just let it be magic. It's harder
Yeah.
for other
So
people than me at this point, I think.
So now it makes me think of this very thing that I have been seeing where, people keep holding on to the concepts of, let's say, a future, for example. I want to be rich, or I want to have a
Yeah.
relationship, or whatever, whatever people dream of, or I want to travel, or I want to have money. These are all concepts that we create based on what we think we should be or what we should have. And then we hold on to them, and then, universe, fates come in the way and say,
Well, that's
doesn't
not
work.
actually it.
Yeah, and then so people try to come up with new ways of getting the same desires, because you got to try and adapt.
Right.
And it's all in the concepts, like what you just described there, like me identifying myself as a pressured person. Pressure is always going to be there. I'm always going to be pressured. I'm creating a concept,
Yeah.
and the concept is the one that is dissolving, because we're going towards a time where it's all about frequency rather than words or concepts, or however human consciousness has formed is through language and words. I mean, it's magnificent, and we have so many languages and so many different meanings and nuances on words. So the consciousness field is based on words, and it is vast, but it's going to go beyond that. And
Yeah.
so if I'm going to be locking, I'm just talking about me now, if I'm going to
Yeah,
be
good.
locking myself into a concept of any kind and try to navigate the future based on this little imaginary ship that I'm building for myself, or this is who I am, this is where I'm going, I'm just going to get drowned, because there's none of that. I just get dissolved. So it's very much about letting go of the concepts, and thinking that how things are going to be. And it's just more about the frequency, and going into the frequency. It's frequency is about sound, and it's about feelings, it's about presence, it's about aura, it's about your body language,
Right.
all of that stuff. So the call is to kind of live more in this human form without having to. Well, okay, there is a, like, I always think of this as we have a mind that has been doing the job of making our decisions for all our lives, and that job is redundant now.
Yeah.
So it's
We're
not
firing
like,
mine from that job.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like you're retired from that. And the mind is kind of lost, like, what am I here to do then? And so it starts to look for this purpose and more concepts and more things that actually are going to get it trapped. Whereas it does have a job, and the job is to watch,
And the
just
job
watch.
also, so this is one of the things I've gone into, like the main premise in my Liberation Through Limitation little booklet, which I want to share more with you, is that yes, we have to fire the mind from the job of making decisions and trying to run our life and figure things out, but we can actually give it a new job. And the
Yeah.
job I've given my mind, other than the watching, because that it's natural to do when it's not off in its own shenanigans all there, is to support my body,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
mind, actually, I've been doing this for a number of years now. My mind will actually say to me, we're about to go into transference now.
Mm.
Getting needy. You're starting to look in the wrong direction. It actually will catch its own self doing
Hmm.
the thing that doesn't help it because
Yeah,
I've taught it. I've actually
yeah.
started educating my mind of what to look for.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's really
I
quite
mean,
endearing, it's like, oh, well, huh.
I relate to that. The other job I've given my mind apart from watching is really making sure that you stop and you wait. Like waiting is an active process actually for the mind. I'm emotional, so like the moment I feel like, I want to do something, I want to say something now, it's where my mind reminds itself, hang on, stop, wait, allow it to sit within you for a while, and then maybe
Yeah,
something will come out later. So that's an active job, and it's a
that's
hard
right.
job.
That's an active job. And it can go, okay, well, we just got nervous. We better wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Instead of, we just got nervous, hurry up.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
if I'm too busy trying to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, you know, what timetables I've got, all of that stuff, I'm giving my job the old job that is no longer required, that doesn't give me anything but anxiety, and is pulling me away from actually having the job that it could have and
Yes.
making my life better.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's really like, fuck, the job is
Exactly.
done. There's a new, it's like taking it from here and putting it here, and this is what you're here to do. And you're actually perfectly equipped to do that new job.
Perfectly.
It's just
Yeah,
that you're not necessarily experienced, you're not a master yet. It's a work in progress.
that's right. It's like
So it's
if you had a child, and you never taught it how to behave, it wouldn't behave. It wouldn't
exactly.
socially adept. It would just be going off on whatever tangent it happened to be going off on. But when you teach it the ways to behave, it learns. It's the same with the mind.
Mhm.
Just teach it, educate the mind,
And
and it,
and
it
here is the dilemma because the mind has only ever known how to navigate life. And now it can't
never
anymore.
thought it
So
known.
yeah, so it's like not only that you're giving it a new job, you're taking away its very belief that it is
Raison d'être.
here to know, where
Yeah,
it's about not knowing. It's just
yeah,
about watching and waiting and, like maybe knowing what to look for in terms of situations, but it is this very key of like you cannot know anymore. You can't pretend to know anymore. And again, knowing is a kind of a word that I am a little bit cautious throwing about because there is knowing and there's knowing. There's knowing and there's thinking that you know.
right. And
Because the
knowing,
knowing can be in the body also, but
yeah,
I'm talking
knowing,
mental knowing.
yeah, we really don't know much of anything in the usual term of that word, but knowing is in the individual circuitry. And the
Right.
individual circuitry works completely on a pulse, and we have
Mm-hmm.
control over that pulse. There's
Mm-hmm.
knowing and there's not knowing, and it happens on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And then in individuality, there's the 4323. Um, and I think it's the 23 that its keynote is I know. And it'll
Yeah.
say I know when it doesn't know, because that's what it's here
Uh-huh.
to say. Sometimes it'll say I don't know also. So, yeah, knowing is it's very elusive.
Yeah, but then there's also like, the individual knowing, or I'd like to call it kind of, let's say, natural knowing. It's to me,
Yeah,
it's also in the body because it's a
yeah,
frequency. And when you know something, you don't know what you know, you don't know why you know it, you just know it. It's just a feeling. Whereas when you think you know something, it's mind. I think I know how this works. Therefore, I'm going to take control over the world because I know this, and now I'm somebody who's better than others. There's that. And
yeah,
that's what I'm talking about when you give the mind a new job. It has to let go of that, which
yeah.
I guess a lot of people refer to as ego in a homogenized sense.
And
The
really
ego
it's
to
just going back to that not wanting to be um uncertain,
exactly, because that's uncomfortable for so many people. And I
comfortable.
can understand, like I have this huge compassion because I see it all the time, like how people get really uncomfortable with the uncertainty. Like I can't but sympathize with them, you know. Um, But
But
it's
on the other hand,
we have to become braver than this. We can't be these ridiculous little beings who are just afraid of the future. It's like you
just
gotta fucking.
I'm fucking saying that.
Mm,
My daughter, she's like this little wise person since she was born. And decades ago, before human design even, I was going through this or that. And, I haven't had a home for 20 years. So talk about uncertainty. I travel around and stay with people and pet sit and this whole thing, right? I walk the Camino. But my mind gets really fixated on wanting to know what's going to happen, right? It gets scared. I have an open spleen, so I'm like
mm,
always insecure, right? My daughter one day looked at me, she goes, "But mom, if you knew what was going to happen, you wouldn't like it. It wouldn't be as exciting for you, would it?" I'm like,
mm,
"Oh, yeah, no, it wouldn't." Because
yeah.
it's the very uncertainty that makes it curious, kind of excited
Hmm.
about it instead of scared about it. And the difference for
Yeah.
me is 100% trusting myself,
Yeah.
trusting my own strength, trusting my own courage, trusting my own ability to see, rather
Mm,
than thinking something out there in the world external to me has to be different for me to be okay.
yeah. Yeah. And I think, I really feel like this is what humanity is called to just feel, experience, and surrender to. Like, really, we have all the answers within these vehicles.
Yeah,
And when I say answers, I don't mean it in the sense that there's a question and there's an answer. It's just that
it's all
these
there.
bodies know, these bodies know where to go. I mean, these bodies are made of the material world, the mundane world, the atomic world. This is how we navigate here on this planet. They know, they're part of this natural cycle, whether we like it or not, whatever story we're having in our heads about what our lives are, we still have these bodies and they know how to navigate. So, like the true surrender is really to surrender to your body in that way. And
And it's at the very core, it's surrendering to the magnetic monopole.
it
And the
is.
magnetic
Like,
monopole and the design crystal come together. So there's all these design crystals in the earth for every possible thing. We can't even imagine every grain of sand, every blade of grass, every person, animal, everything has a design crystal that was in the earth. And when the design crystal comes up to be born, it already has its magnetic monopole embedded in it. They're together,
mhm,
they're one thing. And so when we're born, the design crystal goes into the center of the head and the pituitary and and the magnetic monopole goes into the G center. And then it drives the whole thing around and it knows how to do it. That's its fucking job. That's what
mhm,
it's here for. That's what it was created as. Apparently, there's a prime magnetic monopole that's in charge of the whole thing, like the more than we can imagine whole thing. And so for us to think, for my little mind to think that it knows where to go better than this monopole, whose job it is, who's connected to the prime thing that created the whole shebang,
mhm.
it's a bit of hubris, I would say.
I
Now, the
mean,
problem, the problem for the mind is that, for someone especially who has an open G center and like you, a completely open G center, is you don't necessarily have that experience, that constant or continued experience of that. Like I actually feel myself. I can feel this area pulling me in different directions.
mhm,
Um, so I can like go into that part of my body and feel it. Like I just booked a whole trip to Portugal this morning, pulling me, okay? But what I found fascinating is you don't have that because it's open. So you might occasionally have that, but it's not this
mhm,
consistent part of your awareness. But you found yourself saying to someone the other day, "Oh, I'm going to be going too."
mm.
You're like, "I am."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, one of the things about like what you're just making me realize about having this open G center is that, yeah, I get those sensations where I've been pulled, you know. And it's so attractive to feel that, you know,
Yeah.
because it's an open center, it's not consistent, it comes and goes, that I feel like, okay, now I feel the pull towards something, and because it's the center of identity, I feel like now I'm myself because now I know my direction. And I get so, I can, not anymore, but I used to get so attracted to that feeling of knowing myself, knowing where I'm going, that the moment it's gone, I'm lost.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm looking for it again. Like, I mean, what can give me that feeling again? Is it, you know, if whatever, you know, it could be a person, it could be a substance that I use or something. But getting so hooked on getting that feeling back because it's really what makes me feel me, you know.
And it's funny that you say it that way because I travel all the time. I'm sometimes places for a few days, a couple of weeks. It's really nice for me when it's a couple of months. Um, when I'm in my correct environment, especially when I've not been for a bit of time, and I go in, and for me, it's a markets. It's a beautiful market area in a big city or by the coast. It can happen to me too. I get there and my mind goes, oh, there I am. It's like I've been lost because I've,
Mm,
in some room that has nothing to do with me being connected to myself. I also, my of my incarnation cross, both of my sons and one of my earths are in open centers. So if I'm just by myself in some room somewhere, I don't have access to myself. Then I go
mm.
out into the marketplace where there's all these, connections that are all around me, all these people that are hooking me up to myself. And I'm like, oh, there I am.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel so good. And when I'm in the correct environment, that's when I can see better. That's when
Mm.
I can feel myself. That's when I can see where I'm going. That's where I can go like that. Okay, there I am. I'm okay. There I
Yeah,
am.
and there's
I'm
less
okay.
resistance because I feel like if I'm in the wrong place, I mean, I see it very clearly with my open G's that I just get resistance. Everything is resistance. If I'm
Yeah,
in the right place, it's like, oh, I can breathe and
yeah,
I'm now home, you know, I can
yeah.
relax, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. When I first started studying the PHS and motivation and view and environment, um, I don't know, about a dozen years ago now, um, it seemed to me the most important one would be PHS. Like, how
Mm,
do I align my brain so that my body works? And then I got really into motivation. But if I'm incorrectly motivated, if my mind is just going nuts with me, I'm lost. What I have determined actually is that the place to start is the environment. Because if you're in the correct environment, you can see correctly. And if you can see
mm,
correctly, you can be motivated correctly. And when you're motivated correctly, you're not going to get in the way of your body taking in what's there and correct for it to take in.
mm. Yeah, yeah.
So if you're lost, if you're fucked up in your world, find the environment that's correct, and then
Mm,
everything else can be easier from that point.
mm,
That's what I've
mm,
determined
mm.
from
Yeah,
looking
I
at it
relate to
in me
that.
and other people.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot.
Yeah.
But again, like, you know, having an open G and all of that stuff, like it can also become a mind trip thinking, oh, now I have to find my right environment.
Yeah,
And
but but the thing
it's like
is
again, letting go of those mental concepts of thinking any of that. It's like again, using the mind for that correct job instead of thinking that I need to know what my correct environment is. I can just see where I'm unhappy, where I'm
well,
feeling resistance, and what feels good and what doesn't. And so I'm just using it to watch and observe and measure
that's it.
instead of trying to, you know, make decisions. Because now I'm uncomfortable here. I have to eliminate it and not feel my feelings and go to a new environment where I don't feel that. Like it can become a trip like that. So it's like, okay, first of all, I'm seeing where I'm at and how I'm feeling in this place. I don't feel good. And often that's enough because just by becoming aware and recognizing my feelings, the movement happens on its own afterwards. I don't really have to do anything about it.
That's interesting. And I think because I have not actually found that, and that may be the difference between because your personality sun is in a defined center.
Mm, yeah.
So when you feel yourself, which is recognition of feelings is the keynote of that 30, then you somehow find yourself. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I
Mm,
can be somewhere and know that I don't feel good there, and I still don't know how to help myself. So I've trained my mind to say to me, go to the market now. We'll feel better.
mm.
Go to the market now. We'll feel better. And I'm like, oh, because I'll get depressed, not like clinically depressed, but I'll just like, I'm nothing. I'm nowhere. There's nothing. I can't find
Yeah, and
my
like, and
mind.
then
It's
you
one of the
think
jobs that
how,
I gave my mind. Go to the market. Just do it,
and
Tiera.
it is because it's an open spleen. Your personality sun is in a 44, which is about gate that coming to meet as well, and it's
That's
about,
right.
you have your
Yeah.
markets.
I got to go meet.
So it's like you have to kind of be a little bit mental about it because it's an open center. So you can train yourself to first realize you're not feeling good or safe, or whatever, and then it's a learned behavior.
Yeah,
Then
it's
you,
one
you
of the
can you
jobs
can
I gave
use
my
that
mind a long time ago.
exactly.
Tell me to go to the marketplace because we feel better there. And then it
Hmm.
does. I'm like, okay. And I
And
always,
then, yeah, and then your
100% of
design
the
can
time
shine
feel
there.
better.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's very different. That's really interesting to see these differences because for me, like you say, it's a defined center
Right.
and it's about recognition of feelings and just enough.
Yeah.
It's just enough. I don't have to engage my mind in any of that.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
something
that's
that has been talked very little about. In fact, I'm the only one I
mm,
ever hear talk about this.
yeah.
I mean, Ra brought it up, but he never went into it. It wasn't his experience. But when I've
Hmm.
shared that with other people who have that, it's like, oh, it's like it sort of makes sense of this whole part of how we're experiencing life of just like
Yeah.
not being there yet.
Yeah, yeah. And like now I can see how you take if you take that same kind of mechanism. So I have my eighth gate that we started this conversation with making a contribution. So I have my eighth gate, my design earth in an open center.
Right. There we
Okay,
go.
so I know that I like this today. I felt like I need to be grounded. My body needs to be grounded by talking. What do like? And now the job can be, well, talk with somebody instead of me trying to just
Nice.
put something out because there's nothing there, I can't and I'm right in my variable, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. So I can train my mind to, if I feel ungrounded in my body to just, maybe ask somebody like yourself, are you available to chat?
Yeah,
Shall we
very
do something?
good. I love that. I love that.
I think
And,
these
and
are
I
really
have
important
actually assumed,
mechanical points that need to be talked about, like you said. I mean,
so
open center versus undefined.
I have a similar thing. My design, no, my design sun is actually it's the only one in a defined center. It's the 19, so I have to ground in being really sensitive,
Mm,
which other people don't like. People get
yeah.
been very upset with me my whole life because my body is so sensitive, and it is that sensitive. But my personality earth is in the 24. And there's madness in the 24. It's this thing that just loops and loops and loops and loops around the same thing until it mutates. And
Mm,
I also have to talk to someone about it because if it's just
mm.
looping in me, it can drive me crazy a little bit. But I have to choose the right people because some people can't take that I'm talking about the same process that I'm looking at in order to get grounded
Yeah.
in it. Other people can. It's like, yeah, let it talk it out, go for it.
Hmm.
Especially people like if I'm making a decision and there's a looping going on, I have found that people who are sacral generators and what they need in their process is a yes, no question, then they have an answer. They want me to have that. And that's not how I make decisions. I might have answers, you want to go outside? Uh-huh.
Mm, mm,
Um, but if I'm deciding, am I going to go on a big journey to Portugal? It's not going to come with a uh-huh or an uh-uh. It's going to come with talking through, for me,
yeah.
talking through, allowing the process, hearing myself talk, hearing what other people say back to me, not because they're intellectually asking me a yes, no question, but because they're actually curious about my process.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and then that helps me see more. That helps me notice my own responses to them. Not because I go, uh-huh, uh-uh, but because they go, oh, why don't you go to Porto? Porto's beautiful. I'm like, like Porto. I've been, la la la. It's like it gives me something to respond to, not just have some sacral thing going on.
And I think here it's important to realize that, just talking through it, okay, it sounds like it's a mental thing. And yeah, it is linked to emotional process. But what you're actually doing is by talking, you're feeling through it.
Feeling through. That's
And
exactly right.
that's it's key, important key, because I was thinking of mental projectors, like they have to talk through whatever, but it's in their mind because they're thinking, okay, yeah, you might have the 24th gate there in your design, which is very mental, and there's this looping going on. But actually, what it's giving you is by looping and talking about it, it's going to allow you to get into your feelings,
Hmm.
and then your process can take place in the body. So the
Yeah.
mind again has a job here to be the spokesperson of whatever is going vibrationally in your body.
Nice. I
And
love that.
yeah.
Love
So it's
that.
not just to say, just to clarify that it's not a mental process in per se. It's like again, the mind is being used for good here, but it's not the one that is taking the ownership of, I
Yeah.
need to talk through my thoughts. No,
Yeah.
it's like you have to recognize your
Oh, I
feelings in
can
some
feel
way.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
I'm just cautious of time. I'd like to go, and it's really nice sunshine there. So I want to start kind of making
Cool.
my way out of here.
I want to
Do
say
you have
one
anything
more
else you?
thing
Yeah. Hmm.
that we can leave ourselves with and leave other people with is boundaries. And we can go more into this
Yes.
later. I
Mm.
think that sometimes our mind uses its neurotic patterns to create boundaries.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't do that because I can't afford it. That's going to be
Mm.
mine, right? I make it about
Mm.
money. Or you would say, possibly, I can't do that. I'm too pressured.
Yeah. I
Whereas
don't have the
what
time.
really is happening is I don't want to do that. That's not
Yes.
right for me. And can I be courageous enough to tell the fucking truth instead of using this secondhand excuse and throwing it out there that people will, accept? And
Mm.
how can we
Mm.
be clear with our boundaries? I actually just don't want to do that.
Yeah, and it makes me like now realize like of course I use these excuses like okay, I don't have the money or I don't have the time. They're kind of readily available answers that, we've been throwing around for ages and they work to some
They
degree.
work.
But then, what you kind of coming to here is this, okay, recognition of feelings.
I was just going to
And
say,
then like it takes real like guts to say somebody, I just don't feel like doing it.
I don't feel like doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. And often like I'm just recognizing that I I often don't know for certain that I don't want to do it. So
And
if I
that's,
start to say, I don't know, I would have to be honest and say, I don't know if I want to do it.
there
Then it
you
gives
go.
people a chance to start steering me to the direction they want me to go to. Yeah, but, maybe you will, whatever. And then that gives me anxiety. So I find it easier to say, I don't have the money because
Right.
then I don't have to start explaining myself if I'm not 100% clear yet that it's a no. But if it's a complete no, then I can say that.
Well,
But
and
then,
that's just the next stage is I don't know. I need time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because as a salesperson, if someone says they don't know, I'll keep selling. If someone
Yeah.
says no, I walk away. Why would I stay? But if they
Hmm.
don't know, I'll see if I can get them to buy it. It's this thing.
Well,
Watch me do it. But if they
I have
say,
a perfect
no, I'm not
example
ready
of
to make
that.
that decision, I need some time,
Yeah.
you don't, most people are not going to argue with that. So
Well, I
we
actually
have to
used
find
that
the
for the
new, and
first time.
that's another job for the mind. Give me the right sentences. I find that my
Right.
mind can bring me good sentences that will be acceptable to other people while maintaining my integrity with what's true for me.
Hmm. So I was just called a couple of days ago by a phone company and okay, I have this best deal for you, whatever. And it actually sounded like a really good deal. And I had been thinking about changing over and I'm just there and I'm like, dude, you got me at the moment where I'm cooking. And I don't really have the time to start looking at my old contract to see whether, like there's some weighing I want to do before I sign up for anything. And I also don't want to make decisions just like this spontaneously because they're always shit. I just told him like this directly.
Nice,
So I
nice.
said that, if you actually want to make a sale or potential for making a sale, the best thing I would tell you is stop pressurizing me now. Give me time and call me back tomorrow. And he was completely okay with that. And he called me back the next day and I said, thank you for that. I've actually come to a decision that I'm going to go with you. Are you happy
Nice.
now? And he was like,
No,
yes, I
that's
am.
that's the best example ever, and we can do that with
Yeah.
anything and everyone.
Hmm. It's just sometimes some people don't want to accept that. Then, yeah, but this offer is only available now. And then I just often go, well, you know what? If
Well,
it's
then
not
it's not
available
for
for me,
me.
but yeah, then it's not for me. Um, and sorry, you just have to accept rejection here.
Yeah.
Like that's your business,
That's
it's
right.
not mine.
That's right. So that's good.
Yeah.
So stay
All
tuned,
right.
people. We're going to do more of these. Do you
Yeah.
like it? This is Tiera and Hannele,
Yes,
Human Design.
indeed. So long.
Now I have to put my glasses on to figure out how to stop recording. Okay, here it's up here now.